Welcome to 247 Real Talk. I'm your host, Julian Perry, and it is an absolute pleasure to be here with you once again. My last episode, I wasn't sure if I'd be, or when I'd be back. I figured I would be back. I wasn't sure when. But here I am, and there's a lot for us to digest and talk about. Let me get into a relaxing position here. I hope you had a great week. My week was okay. I stopped physical therapy officially. I still have to do physical therapy, but insurance coverage made me stop. Make a long story short, my knee's progressing. But I did notice already that not having my physical therapy sessions in this week made it very difficult. So that's that. But either way, last time we spoke, I talked about whether I was going to stop or pivot. And I've made some decisions. So sit back, relax, and we'll have a little quick chat. All right, I'm back. I'm still working out a few things in the studio. My positioning is a little different, so there's a couple of kinks, and I hope that you will allow me the time to fix them. You might hear a little sound from time to time in the mic, like a whining sound. I have a new switch, network switch, that's sitting on my equipment table. Cameras are still being put in. Maybe in another episode, I'll kind of give you a quick pan to a camera so you can kind of see what this whole operation looks like, just a piece of it that allows me to communicate with you each and every week. So this is not going to be a long episode because it is not on a specific topic. When I spoke with you last week, based on everything that's going on around us, I decided that I had to make a change, or I didn't know what to do. I have to say, first of all, thank you to so many people. I can't call the names. But when I release the episode, there's also a list of people I send it to because they've asked me to do so, or because they joined the mailing list, or whatever the case may be. The point being that I got in rapid fire response after response saying, no, keep it up, keep going, keep pushing. We depend on you. You're the voice of reason. You're our voice of sanity. We don't say it enough, but you give us strength from week to week, and you're the only one fighting for us. I mean, I can't just give you the quotes of everything. There were so many that I was surprised. So I had a few conversations with a few of the friends and a few of the people that responded to me. And I explained to them my dilemma of where I am today in the life of this podcast. And one thing became apparent, that while we have a crazy political landscape, while we have a landscape where me who comes to you is independent, and I say that again, and I reiterate that because, remember, I tell you about things about the Republican Party and the Democrat Party. I always take the stance and the perspective and the independent of someone who simply wants to live fairly and have us live together. And I've gone after the Biden administration. At times I've gone after the current administration. But I felt like I was alone in a battle. As I told someone today, it's like I'm standing on a mountaintop, and on both sides, both Republicans and Democrats, I'm calling them to debate, and I'm the king warrior standing there with the spear in my hand, and I say, charge! And when I look back, there are no troops behind me. No one is fighting. There's no real debate. There are a few people who are fighting for their constituents, but the two houses, the two halves of the houses and the Senate are not really going at this and in front of the people in a transparent manner and calling out each other. People from their own parties are not willing to call out people of their own parties, even though what they're doing is moral and ethically wrong. People from their own parties who need to stand up with others are afraid to stand up, are afraid to speak for whatever reason. The point is, the whole concept, and when I leaned back into my early days and my roots and got down on my knees, which I can't physically do because of my knee surgery, but you know what I'm saying. I turned my head to my Almighty and I said, I need guidance. What I discovered from the people who reached out to me, whether he sent them in that message or whatever the case may be. Again, I'm sorry if you hear a whining, but I haven't figured out how to isolate the sound yet. What I found was that there was a huge base of people who listen to the audio and the YouTube, even though the YouTube numbers, and that's the thing I don't understand. The YouTube subscriber numbers have been stagnant for a while, but I learned that when I went into my analytics, that there are actually thousands upon thousands upon thousands of people who listen to the podcast, but they don't subscribe. And I've learned that with my podcast channel. I've learned that with my tech channel, 247 Tech Talk. Although that one's, grows, it seems to be growing continuously because it's a tech channel and I review stuff and all of that. But this channel that deals with issues that are emotionally and mentally challenging, thousands upon thousands of people download. Like I said, they're probably close to 50,000 downloads of the audio podcast, but they do not subscribe. This is not a monetized channel, so I don't gain anything from them subscribing monetarily. What I do gain is that feeling of support and drive. It takes a lot to sit here every week, to pour myself out, to come up with, to get in touch, and to get in touch with the pulse of the nation and of the world requires me to dig deep into news stories every night, to decipher the truth out of what has become a completely biased media, and then to figure out what's really impacting people, what's causing people pain this week, and then pick a topic out of it that I think I can speak emotionally and intelligently and knowledgeably about, and then come to you. Then when I'm done with that, there's a portion of editing this. I try to get better and better equipment so the amount of editing reduces. I'm hearing myself echo too. And again, I will get this all down. I apologize if you're hearing that echo. I am, but I have to figure out where it's coming from. But the point is that I do this because I feel that it is my calling. It is God's calling to me. I often say to you, now I'm hearing phones going off. I often say to you, and forgive me as I try to mute the 3 or 4 phones around me. It's on silent now. I try to earn my keep for occupying oxygen, for occupying space and a place on this place we call Earth. It's important because if we don't give back, then what happens? If we don't become a part of someone else's life who's out there crying for help, who's out there wanting to hear that they're not alone in a challenge, who's out there maybe at their wit's end and just need someone to say, I'm with you, stand up, hold your head high, walk with me, I'll walk with you. That is why I started this podcast, to give of myself, to be a part of something bigger, rather than sit there and live my life. While it wouldn't be selfish, because I live for my family, I live for my Creator, but it would be selfish if I close the scope of all that I'm capable of and all I have the ability to do. This new studio that you see here is self-funded again. This is not cheap. You have not seen what's around you. I'm very proud that these amazing walls and everything you see, I built with these 2 hands myself, with a damaged knee, limping with braces on my knees. But long story short, I think I told you before, I had to get out of my current space upstairs. And it's important that I didn't have a huge break. It hasn't been easy. But the sacrifice is that I need to earn my keep, so to speak. That's my personal feeling. You don't have to feel that way, and there's nothing wrong if you don't. So it comes back to my conversation last week and where am I going with this podcast? And I recognize that as we went into elections last year and all of that, I started to digress from my real purpose, from what drove me to start this podcast, and I started to get swallowed up into the political landscape because that's what was and still is impacting people. But what I failed to realize until I reached my wit's end last week and told you that I needed to either stop doing this or pivot, is the pivot needed to be back to where I started. I'm sorry, there should be a windscreen on this, there's not. And back to where I started means that I needed to get in contact or in touch with the roots of why I started this. And recognize that even though we have a crazy political landscape going on in the country and the world, and while that is obviously impacting all of us, whether it be negatively or positively, there's a result from that. There's an emotional need. There's a mental need. There's a support need. There is a need to address anxiety, mental stress, physical impact of all these things. And that's where I am most needed. I believe that because whatever is going to happen, whatever we pray about, whatever your belief is or my belief is, what's going on in the world will run its course. The fact of the matter is that if we are blessed with life, we have to get up every single day, make decisions about our lives every single day, and live our lives for our families, for ourselves, for those who depend on us, and for the one who of whose we are, if that's your belief. That's mine. So I believe it's a privilege to wake up every day. And I believe that if I had decided to end this podcast, then I would not only have done a disservice to myself and to you, but I would have broken a promise to my Creator as to my promise to serve. This is how I can serve at this time. So from the next episode going forward, I'm going to pivot back to those conversations of health and happiness and self-care and all the other things. There's medical things that I have friends of mine who are dealing with chemotherapy. I have a friend of mine, a church sister I would call it. She's never smoked a day in her life. She felt a pain under her left side. She went to the doctor, stage 4 lung cancer. She's dealing with chemo. She's dealing with trying to decipher and understand why this happened to her. And while we may not have those answers, I certainly know that she needs support to go through a challenge. When you get those kind of diagnoses, especially what the prognosis is, and I didn't ask her, but if the prognosis is not good, imagine living your life. We all know that we have to leave this place, but the majority of us don't know when. We pray to God for a long life, and we try to live a life deserving of God's blessings to be here a long time. But many of us don't know when. But when a doctor walks into your room and tells you approximately when, that's a whole new mental challenge. You still have people around you who love you, who need you, and who want every bit of you so they have good memories of you. Your doctor has said, you're out of here. We have had miracles where prayer has healed, and I believe in that. But I'm talking about the scenario where people do leave here. I've had friends my age and younger who have. And the point is, I'm thinking of my good friend who died from ALS, and I watched her go from a vibrant young lady and her demise to the point where she had nothing left. And she withered away to skin and bone, and then she died. When the doctor's telling you 2 years, 3 years, 6 months, a week, I know of another church sister, the doctor told her at that point, you had a week, and she was gone in 3 days. When you get something that's so finite, I can imagine there's so much you want to say. There's so much you want to love. There's so many feelings within you. But there's also a challenge for the people who are left behind. And that's in every scenario. People who are struggling financially, people who will be impacted by the recent budget bill, people who might lose their health coverage and figure out how to cope. We need this kind of conversation and figuring out how to create networks that can possibly give us information and paths towards health care, towards employment, towards self-care, mental care. These things result maybe in physical manifestations of rashes and all sorts of physical casualties, so to speak, of the pressures of life. I am here to look each day at, and the news usually captures a lot of these things because the news likes to sensationalize. And I usually grab from that or from people who reach out to me, which is why I tell you, send me an email at podcast@247realtalk.net, and I will use that as a catalyst to think about how to help you and what conversations to have that bring value to your life or the lives of others. I have come on here and I've talked about my sons and my family's challenge with my son's diagnosis high in the spectrum of autism, of the behavioral challenges, of who I've had to become and how I've had to become to deal with him, of what I've had to do to be able to deal with him, to be able to be a better parent, to manage his challenges. Let's talk about how we take care of each other. And let's use our prayers and hope that those we elected, that were elected by the people, for the people, will eventually wake up and do their part. So that when the time comes for us to act, or the moment comes where we need to stand up to live or unite, we are well prepared. We are healthy enough, both in body, mind, and spirit. So I will be back next week and the week after that. Again, I thank so much. I can't believe the outpouring of support I got. I am humbled and grateful. And as I prayed about this, and as your words came in, I knew that my mission was not over. That in life, there's a song by Quincy Jones, and someone else sang it too. Everything must change. Nothing stays the same. The young become the old. Join me as 247 Real Talk gets back to its roots and gets back to the human dynamic of helping each other. But please, I plead with you, please like, share, subscribe. It's not about money. This is not a monetized channel. It's about doing exactly what the outpouring this week did. Giving me the energy when after working and going to meetings all day and being tired and fatigued, to be able to get in front of this camera, turn off the AC, which makes this soundproof office, or relatively soundproof, it's not done yet, hot, and sit in front of a camera and pour out my feelings to connect with you, or to respond to a request by email or whatever, to give my thoughts an upliftment on something that's bothering society or bothering some individual. Because when one person says to me, what do you think about this? I need to hear your thoughts. I recognize there may be thousands of other people in this vast universe of ours, because I do have listeners from all over the world, who has the same challenge. And my conversation with one and my sharing of thoughts to one becomes medicine for many. So I'm here, and because of you, I'm not going anywhere. So get ready for us to do what we do and become real talk all over again. It's always my absolute pleasure, and I'm so grateful to each and every one of you, and especially you out there who know who you are, who came to me. Some of you in anger said, no, you will not quit. And because of you, I will not quit. I'll continue to fix this so the quality is better, and I'll continue to do everything out of my own to make this more of an intimate, more of a connection, that together we will be stronger. And it is my belief as a spiritual guy, as a spiritual man who's grounded in who I am, I always tell you, and whose I am, that I and we can do all things through Christ who strengthens us. Until the next time, please take care of yourselves and each other.